Hello everyone, in today's video I'll be discussing my thoughts of the episodes of 5 and 6 of Season 2 of Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. This discussion of these two episodes is just talking about my thoughts and opinions because of course these two episodes were adapted from Volume 5 in the light novel series. And my thoughts are about these two were the title of the 5th episode, and of course the fight against the Devourer. Now there's nothing against about these episodes. I apparently enjoy these two, but of course I have actually got opinion on them. But these two episodes, what I like the most is because of course we go to another labyrinth that Hajime and the girls go into to acquire an ancient magical ability called restoration magic. And this is a labyrinth that I've been very excited to see being adapted from Volume 5 in the light novel, because I have actually been imagining what it looked like when I was actually reading the book. As well as introducing the creator of the labyrinth, Mayo Miracine, who is another one of the liberators, and this is a character that I've been very excited to see in the 6th episode, as I have actually been looking through the manga adaptation of the prequel series, and she's actually by far the most amazing female character in the prequel. The first thing I'm going to be discussing about of one of these two episodes is the title of the 5th episode, which is actually called Memories from the Bottom of the Sea. My distinctive thought impression of that title was to see both of the two visions. First with the naval battle, and secondly the mass slaughtering on this passenger ship. But instead we had the first vision, the naval battle, and that's what we saw in the 5th episode. So yeah, apparently, having the second vision not featured in the same episode, and even though the title is called Memories from the Bottom of the Sea, it kind of feels like a misleading title for me personally, because I really thought an excitement when this episode came out that the two visions were about to go into show in this episode. I really don't mind if the other vision was featured in the next episode, but personally I'd rather have it in the same episode as the naval battle one. So personally I'd rather have the title called The Sunken Ruin of Miracine Labyrinth Part 1, and that way the next episode would have actually shown the second vision. That would have been called The Sunken Ruin of Miracine Labyrinth Part 2. And that way would have actually been good to have two episodes with the same title but with Part 1 and 2, so that way the 5th episode's title wouldn't be that misleading. So yeah, I think those two visions should have been featured in the same episode, as their episode's title is actually, well, referred to something like the visions, of course, that we're going to see in this episode, where Hajime and Kai witness and watches these two events happened in Tortoise's history. Now we're going to move on to the Devourer battle at the very tail end of episode 6. In my opinion, I find the Devourer battle, where Hajime and the girls fight against at the very tail end of this episode, was really quite shortened, and it was quite a quick battle as well. And in my opinion, I'd rather have a much longer battle against the Devourer, because in the book, it was a very, very long fight, and it was a massive struggle for Hajime and the girls. Not only they're trying to get away from it, but trying to kill it as well. And also the biggest major difference to the book is that Hajime's submarine gets destroyed by the Devourer. But in the anime adaptation it doesn't get destroyed. Personally I'm quite glad that the submarine hasn't been destroyed in this episode, because we get a very lovely moment of Hajime and the girls sailing off into the horizon after saying goodbye to Miu and Remia in the next episode. So yeah, I have to say that the fight against the Devourer was quite shortened actually, and I kind of personally have a much longer battle than that actually, but instead we had to have the fight very shortened because we had to have these last two scenes with Yuka and Shizuku and the others worrying about Aiko's whereabouts, and of course Aiko herself up at the Divine Mountain under the watchful eyes of Noit. Nevertheless, regardless, I personally don't really mind how shortened the fight between Hajime and the girls up against the Devourer. Personally, I'd rather have a much longer fight than what we got now, actually. Not only will we actually see Hajime and the girls struggle against the Devourer, but also the massive triumph at the very end of that fight. What triumph I'm talking about is when Hajime finally defeated the Devourer. He had a very sore headache and exhaustion, but he actually felt triumph. Triumph to defeat the most powerful enemy that Hajime ever faced. And all the girls praised him for that. And that's one of my favourite parts of the 5th volume of the light novel series, at the very tail end of the 2nd chapter. And I personally wish that was in the episode, and I really wish it was. But unfortunately we didn't get to see that sort of look of a triumph that Hajime had. So my final conclusions of my thoughts of the 5th episode's title, and of course the fight against the Devourer in Season 2 of Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. I don't mind if the two visions are separate to each other, one in the 5th episode and the other in the 6th. But nevertheless, I really wish that they actually done a better job on the title, like having part 1, part 2 of the same title, as I just mentioned a moment ago. As for the fight with Hajime and the girls versus the Devourer at the tail end of episode 6, well, despite it is actually quite a very short, quick fight than what I actually imagined from the book, I don't really mind it that much often, and sometimes I can look past it actually, but there's always something that does bug me a little bit actually. It does bug me a little bit, but sometimes I pass it actually. I just pass it and then think, oh, that was a really great scene, everything I imagined from the book is all there. Very much as I will say about the title of the 5th episode, it's kind of a little bit slightly misleading, despite of course that the two separate visions are actually in separate episodes, and they should have been in one episode together. So yeah, so to be quite honest, I don't really mind actually, to be quite honest, what the name of the title of the 5th episode is, and of course the Devourer battle was quite shortened actually. I personally really don't mind. So yeah, this is my thoughts of the 5th and 6th episode of Season 2 of Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. I hope you really enjoyed my discussion. This discussion I really had in mind actually for a little bit, because of course I really want to share my experience and thoughts of these two episodes. Like for example the 5th episode's title, and of course how shortened the battle against the Devourer was. So yes, put your comments below and have your thoughts about, does the title in the 5th episode is kind of misleading? Do you agree with me that they should have done it as part 1 and part 2 and call it the Sunken Ruin and Mirror Labyrinth? And do you also agree or disagree that you're right with the battle against the Devourer was shortened, or do you prefer it was a lot more longer as it is in the book? So yeah, put a like on my video and subscribe to my channel. See you guys, bye!